Andy Hood, Real Brit, Real Talk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How do you think people can prepare for what's to come? Like, what would be your advice? Would you say get off watching movies all the time, guys? Get yourself fit. Like, what advice would you give to men out there right now in England?
Yeah, definitely get yourself mentally and physically fit. Um, for me, I kind of learned on the job, but I suppose my end goal will be and should be really is to kind of bring back Christianity to people. And I'm not on about like I said earlier, you don't have to be a sap about it or anything, but just bring back Christian values, bring back the family unit. If you bring back the family unit, then you bring back your community. Your town becomes one. That spreads throughout the country. Your country unites as one. You'll have a healthy society. But all the time you're letting certain ideologies come in, like 20 million babies a year we're aborting. That needs to change. Just because a girl goes on a night out, gets knocked up on a one night stand, and it does things to girls psychologically. These things. I'm not saying abortion should be banned because some circumstances may call for that, but we need to look at our values. We need to come back to a bit more of a core value of family unit, sticking together as a community.
Yeah,
That's
and this
my
is
main.
this is why we're seeing less white people born as well, right? Because a lot of the other religions are not having abortions. So and also, if people are worried about whites becoming extinct in England, the best thing you really can do is just have babies,
Yeah,
right? Have babies if you're still able to of that age. And that because everyone's complaining about Muslims having a lot of babies and Jewish people because they have up to eight each, some of them. But I would say, well, why don't you just have lots of babies as well? Why don't you do that? It's really the only solution, isn't it, for now? That's something that you can control, right? Is go get pregnant, go have a baby. And actually having a family and having children will be one of the best things, well, probably the best thing that you could ever do anyway, despite what
exactly.
we've all been indoctrinated the last 50 years due to the media.
And you bring your kids up with Christian values. They bring their Christians kids up with Christian values. Society just goes on.
Most of you watching these videos aren't yet subscribed, but it really helps the channel to grow. So do me a favor, it's free of charge. Hit that subscribe button now. So what else would you recommend people do right now in preparing? I mean, are you doing anything like, I mean, people in the States, it's different here, but they're really stocking up on guns. They're, some guys, especially ex-military, they've got enough food to feed the family for a year in tins and stuff. And they've got generators for heat and electricity. Are people doing anything like that in England?
Um, yeah, there's communities that are getting away from, like, they're kind of getting self sufficient, but like, I hate to be a nincompoop about this, but this if we have World War Three, it's going to be a war we have never seen before. Number one, the China have just built the mothership. Now this is an undroned like aircraft carrier. Sorry, not aircraft carrier. Jumbo jet basically. It's unmanned and it can release thousands of drones at a time. Now we won't be fighting in the streets. We will be fighting drones and we will be fighting missiles, things like that. There isn't really much. You can kind of get ready, your house ready for looters, for idiots, than that. Yeah, I would suggest definitely doing something like that. All the big cities, if you've got a family, I'd get out of them cities because they are the first places to go. And if they don't go, they will be the first places to burn because too many people in the place all panicking at the same time never ends well. Like I say, I'd get out to a little community and make friends ASAP. I would get out of them cities because, yeah, they're going to be the first places to fall. It'd be the countryside you'd be safe in.
Do you think World War Three is coming then, not just a war, a civil war? Or do you think civil war will come then World War Three?
Oh, either one, they will try and implement their 15-minute system. That's what they want. You know, they want a civil war. They want chaos on our streets. And then they come in and go, all right, guys, look, we'll put cameras here, 15-minute cities. Everything will be 15 minutes away. And, you know, you'll have your ID card. And if you go into this zone, you'll scan in here. And, oh, you might not be able to buy produce over here because you're not from this zone. And if your nan's in that zone, you might have to pay a bit to go from this zone to that zone to that zone to go see your nan. But at least we know where everyone is. At least we'll have everyone under control. We know who everyone is, you know. And before you know it, we'll be beeping in and out of zones and scanning things everywhere, you know. Just and then it'll come up, oh, you bought too much meat this month. Your family doesn't, you know, you haven't got enough social credit score for a meat this month. And you're like, what? It's just, yeah, it's just about control. But it's about societies becoming strong enough to push back and just say no. We're not doing this, you know, and taking a step back. Why are we so eager to run into the future for? I don't understand it. Everyone's
Well, I
so
think.
eager to.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I just don't understand why everyone's so eager to, you know, just keep running forward and not taking the time to appreciate what the moment that you're in. Everyone's just looking ahead all the time and just not appreciating what's actually around them at that precise moment.
Yeah, well, I think the government are eager because they want to put chips in us and make us docile servants so that we
Yeah.
can't do things like you're suggesting. I won't be surprised if they'll ban the internet as well. That's why it's really important, guys. If you see something that you think I wasn't taught that in school and I need to pass that on to my kids or to other people, make sure you record it and save it. So you've got a copy so we can make sure history is passed on through the generations, because it's definitely not been passed on via schools and via the media. So yeah, no, I like what you got to say. It is all going in a terrible direction. Yeah, because that's what they want to do. They want to put chips in us.
But my best bit of advice for people would be is just stay in your lane. Don't worry about things that are out of your control, like what governments and all that are doing, because you can scream to the top of your lungs. They're not going to listen to you. But if you can take control of your household and then find other people like you in your community and start working together to make your community a safe, decent place to bring children up, and then just spread that on to the next community and the next community. And before you know it, this country will start turning itself around as long as we all stick together. And yes, we're going to have a lot of lefties and a lot of other people shout and scream, point your finger at you. Just don't worry about it. Don't get worked up about it. Don't let them put your head down. Just stick to the facts. As long as you stick to the facts and not opinions, you'll be all right.
Is that still going on in England then with the lefties, or have they not clocked on yet?
No, they haven't clocked on. No, no. They're absolute shameful people. Absolute. Like, it's just the same thing in America.
We've seen this plan to depopulate the world. Bill Gates has said that the ideal number is 500,000. You know, the COVID vaccine, I've seen, I've forgotten his name, but he has found, and the woman that he works with has found parasites, mRNA, and HIV virus in the COVID-19 vaccines. Yeah. And many, many people have died after taking the vaccine and have long-term effects. There is a plan to kill us off. And I feel like if you look back to, well, whenever the Spanish flu was, that was exactly the same thing. They rolled out a vaccine and killed a lot of people, but we haven't been taught properly about that.
Well, we know that Bill Gates was definitely involved in the vaccines in Africa that were unaliving, shall we say, more people than what they were saving. And then the Africans started to kick off and say, hang on a minute. And then Bill Gates just walked away. He was like, oh, yeah, perhaps this ain't a good idea. And just walked away from it. But I do believe the time is coming where these guys are going to start being held accountable. So hopefully this is the turning point where we start saying to these billionaires that have made themselves, really, no one elected them, they've just made a load of money, got together and gone, well, we need to tell humanity how to behave. And then when we started pointing the finger at them and started asking questions why Klaus Schwab was dressed like Darth Vader at a conference and things like that, they went behind closed doors, though. They did, and they went behind closed doors. And they're like, well, if you're going to take the mickey out of us and say that our idea of depopulating everyone is crazy, then we'll just do it in secret behind closed doors. And like that's going to make us turn around and go, well, they've changed their ways. You know, we're not stupid. We know what the plan is. Like, I call them elites. A lot of people say they're Zionists and they're this and they're that. I just call them the elites. A bunch of billionaires that money has gone to their head and now they think they can implement a plan. And they've got a load of liberal lefties, secular humanism people to fulfill their crazy, rotten ideologies. It's just madness. But the world is changing. I can smell it in the air.
Well, I think some of them are using different religions and races to get their own way, even though they're not that religion or race anyway, you know. So it's sort of, they're just doing whatever they can in whatever guise to get their way.
It's the oldest trick in the book, though, isn't it? Divide and conquer.
Yeah, that's definitely what's happened in England in the last, I don't know, 75 years. The amount of division that's been created, you know, and these, it's a strange, isn't it, calling them elite? Because when I think of elite, I think of somebody to look up to, and I certainly don't look up to these people. But you know, they're funding politics, they're funding the left, they're funding the right. It doesn't matter who you vote in. Almost, they've been dictated to by many levels above. And I think a lot of people are only just finding this out now, and some people still haven't found it out. Some people found it out 5-10 years ago, but it's certainly not common knowledge, especially if you're watching the mainstream media. And as I used to work in it, I was very indoctrinated and thinking, we used to pump out everything from the UN, the WEF and WHO, thinking that was the authority. And I'm so glad I've got out of it now, and I'm not doing that, because that's to the detriment of my people, as I would describe them.
People always say to me, Andy, why don't you talk about this more? And I have done. For many years of my lives, I've had debates with people all over the world about it on TikTok lives and that before the app got destroyed. But if I was a billionaire, I'm on their playing field, so to speak. So I could tackle these people, you know, the Bill Gates, the Klaus Schwabs and that, and, you know, I'd be on their playing field, but I'm not. I haven't got the resources or the money that they have. So I can't ever battle them at their game. So that's why I stay where I'm needed, on the streets. So I bring out the news that is on our streets. And then hopefully, if I show this clip, then someone goes, well, why is that happening? Hopefully they go down a rabbit hole and they're like, oh, well, that happened because this happened. This happened because that happened. And doesn't matter, like I said to you off camera, it doesn't really matter where I point at. I promise you, no matter what rabbit hole you go down, the Islamic one, the Jewish one, the elite one, whatever one it is, it will lead you back to the same people that are causing all this. It doesn't really, I've done it myself, so I know. You start looking at this one problem and you find out, well, that's cause and effect because of this. Well, who caused that? Oh, this bunch of money. Well, who owns that bunch of money? Oh, this guy. And then you look at this problem and boom, boom, boom. Oh, this guy again, or these guys again. You know what I mean? And it's always goes back to the people. And we all know that 1% of the human race owns most of the money. So if you've got money problems, you look at that 1% with all the money. I mean, it's always the same people.
Yeah, it really started with Rothschild and that
Yeah.
clan getting so much money. I mean, if you look at Klaus Schwab, given that you mentioned him, and given I've mentioned Rothschild, there is a rumor that they are related. And when you look at them both when they were younger, you know, 16-year-old men, they actually do look very similar. I don't know if they're particularly related, but I mean that Klaus Schwab is a Rothschild, you know, even if he's an illegitimate one. They do look very similar. They've got that long, thin
Yeah.
face. Have you noticed that as well?
Well, Klaus Schwab's grandfather, I do believe, he used to stand alongside Adolf Hitler. So, you know, their whole bloodline is riddled with controversy, and you know, we we messed up after the Second World War when, well, yeah, we messed up when we let all these scientists basically become like major figures in our society. But these were German Nazi scientists that were doing horrific things for Germany, but because they had certain skills and a certain intelligence, they were given some kind of right to go on. And yeah, we're looking at it now. Like people always say to me, "Oh, after the Second World War." What do you mean after the Second World War? We've never stopped fighting the Second World War. We may not be in trenches anymore, but the ideology and everything that started the Second World War, we're still in it. It's still happening around us. You know, if you look at Hitler's early speeches, he was what he was talking about and what they were burning were the LGBTQ books and things like that, and all that kind of knowledge. That's what they were getting rid of. You know, they didn't want these seedy clubs, what all this seedy stuff was going on. Their whole society was plummeting, and he just wanted to turn it around. Now, did he become fueled in a drug cocktail from his doctor and go absolutely crazy? Yes. But at first, when he was opening up the Olympics and everyone accepted Hitler, he was all right. You know, he was on the right track. But yeah, he went a bit crazy at the end, definitely, without a doubt.
I thought he just didn't like the transgender surgery because I
Yeah,
know
well,
a Jewish surgeon invented that.
they were going down what we are in now, the LGBTQ. They were making books how to put blockers on children and change their gender and things like that. And he
Yeah,
was like, no, no, we're not having that in German society. Literally what we're going through now. And that is
yeah,
secular humanism mindset, that liberal, oh, love is love, and, you know, all that. It's just
yeah.
madness. The
Well,
maps,
it
minor attracting people. Oh,
which is what
that's,
we've seen that the family has crashed, hasn't it? Ever since World War Two. Like, well, it was okay for a bit afterwards, but certainly the last 50 years, we've just seen a
oh, yeah.
major crashing of families.
Oh,
So
it happened.
it's worked.
What, the early 90s, wasn't it, when the British government turned round to the girl, and I suffered from this, so I literally lived through this, so I know, like, girls, the amount of girls I know in the 90s that just got themselves knocked up, were given a council house, were told, you don't need a man, we'll give you a council house, we give you money, we give you everything you need. You know, you can be a single individual. You know, we've got groups like the Spice Girls and all these, you know, go be an independent, free woman, and all that. And then they all went off and got married and had children and lived a happy life and left a generation of women who thought being single, parent, and being independent was a great thing. Now look at them. We've got a
Yeah.
bunch of kids that didn't have a father growing up and are lost, you know, and that's where we are now. Multicoloured kids with hair, thinking love is love, and with no grounding in life. That's
With
why, as a
no.
Christian nationalist, I'm dead against all that.
Fortunately, there are some mothers out there though with those kind of kids that the kids will still come out really well. And actually, I saw something the other day about Rockefeller. He invented women's lib and the liberation movement for two reasons. One was to collect more tax because it would help, they'd be able to make more money from it, more people working. And the second reason was to destroy the family.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable when you start learning this stuff, how sinister it all is.
and it's,
And I just feel like we haven't learned anything from 100 years ago or 150 years. But then I think, well, because our history has been taken away from us, you know, what we were taught in schools wasn't everything that we should have been taught, you know, because we've been infiltrated by
yeah.
these evil people who want to do us harm. When did you find out that, you know, our prime minister's not really running the country? It's these elites. And like, when did
So,
this isn't
yeah,
really
well,
common knowledge. Would you say
uh,
it's 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say about 6 years ago. Yeah, but I, it's hard because like light bulbs kept oh, light bulbs kept going off in certain years, and like I started asking certain questions. But I suppose really it all came to a head when Russia put 190,000 troops on Ukraine's border, and I was like, well, that's a bit close to home. And then the COVID thing happened, and I know we spoke about it, but for me, it was an eye opener. One, I thought I knew my children before the COVID, but I got 4 months off fully paid. And I realised one, I didn't know my children. Two, I was missing out on my wife a lot more than what I should be. My whole family unit, like, I realised, yeah, that I was missing so much. And then, yeah, like I say, the troops got put on the border, and then I just went down a rabbit hole from then on. A good friend of mine, actually, because I started waving the Zelensky flag at first, and then a friend who I hadn't spoken to for years messaged me, Andy, who won the Second World War? Question mark. And I actually like kind of laughed at him and mocked him a bit. So, well, everyone knows who won the Second World War. And then the question just kept going around my head. Like, why did he ask me that? Why did he ask me that? And I started going down the rabbit hole. And yeah, that's when I realised that Britain wasn't what I thought it was. Our government wasn't what I thought it was. And not in a, like, at first I was upset and angry and betrayed. But then I realised that this is our moment in time, sort of thing, you know, to do the right thing. And I can either sit there and be angry and sulk and, you know, go, or I can find a path to try and navigate people through this. So yeah, I quit my job, I picked up my phone, I downloaded a load of apps, and I just started talking. And I had to learn really fast on the job while debating people from all over the world for years until I got confident enough, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can do it.
Yeah, and you are doing it, and you're doing it really well because you've got so many followers, you've got so much interaction on your Instagram, especially. Is there anywhere else that you're publishing that you're getting a similar kind of traction or growing traction?
Like I say, I started from like really 3 years, I think, doing debates on TikTok. I would 3 days a week, 5 hours at a time. Every morning, I'd have the Real Brit Real Talk show, morning show, and I would just debate people from Africa, debate Muslims, just debate. Like, well, not even debate, just discuss things sometimes, you know, about the elites, about the money and the influence it has on our parliament and all this. And, you know, we just go over and over it. And I just found a lot of people in Britain were too scared to say anything. And once they saw that I wasn't, like if I was in a debate with a Muslim, for instance, and he was going on about certain things, I would argue back and be like, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, we do have this situation here, but this is because of this, this, and this. This isn't because of the people, you know what I mean? And people started to understand. Hang on a minute, yeah, he's right. He's got a point here. And then when a Muslim would say, well, you LGBTQ and all that, I would say, I would explain to him, well, that's human secularism. That's nothing to do with our side, the Christians. Christians are not for that, you know, blah blah blah. And I'd break things down for people, and yeah, sometimes it got ugly, especially with some Muslims now and again. And I suppose people love that too because I would fight back, push back. I know my book and I know their book. And when they tried telling me that there weren't certain verses in the Quran and there wasn't this in the Quran, I could confidently say to them and bring up the source and say, no, it is, you know. And yeah, if they had a point about our government, I held my hands up and said, yeah. If they went, well, you've got a lot of Jimmy Saviles in your country, I'd go, yep, that is a problem in our country. You know, I'd never shy away from our bad side either, you know. You can't. You know, I can't keep pointing the finger at others and not realise that we've got some fools behind us as well, you know. That's why Christianity is different though, because it's a faith, it's not a religion. So I'm not. I'm just bound by certain things like thou shalt not kill. Be nice, just generally try and be a nice person. Walk in Jesus' light. In other words, just every day wake up and just try and be a little bit more humble than what you was yesterday, a little bit more patient than you was yesterday. Just try and work on yourself. That's all really the Bible is. Just be the best you can be. That's it. There is no other obligations. If you get lonely, you get sad, you can have a word with the big man. That's it. You got someone, and if my ego is getting above me, then I've got a ceiling, above me. So a pair of eyes looking down, going, behave yourself. You're letting your ego get a little bit ahead of yourself here, or your anger, or something like that. It's just to wind you in. It's how you have your relationship with him. It's down to that. I don't call him when I talk to him. I call him the big man. I go, "What's up, big man?" You know what I mean? What's going on here? Like, I lost my glasses today, and I'm in the field looking for my glasses with my dog in the freezing cold, and I'm like, "Big man, what are you doing to me?" You know what I mean? It's just frustration. So it's just how I deal with things. I just have it out with the big man. That's all. You don't have to be all serious, And it says in the Bible, do not shy away from evil. Do not turn your cheek from evil. If you see it, you must confront it. So if I see something evil, or if I hear of something evil, I confront it. That's all.
I do think the Ten Commandments are brilliant. I remember once when my life wasn't going as good as it could, and I read the Ten Commandments. I was like, okay, this is maybe why, and I changed, and then suddenly life improved after
There
I
you go.
started following them. It was amazing. But like, let's talk about then. I mean, you're saying World War Three. Do you think that's obviously huge, but what about England right now? How, or do you think it's all going to tie into World War Three? I mean, the worry for me is nuclear weapons. I mean, we saw what they did in World War Two, and it's just going to depopulate people again. People like us, the white people. But also, I'm worried about everybody. By the way, not just whites, but there definitely is obviously a plan against whites, and it's very evident now that we've been put up against Muslims in particular to fight each other. Which who loves that? The people that want to depopulate us. So what do you see? What are you hearing on the ground in England in terms of how people are going to deal with potentially attacks from all these people coming in? Maybe they're getting trained up in barracks. Do you
Well,
think?
we just had a terrorist attack stopped today, didn't we? In Manchester. They literally stopped 3 terrorists from going at a Jewish synagogue. Apparently, they were bragging it was going to be the biggest ever attack in Britain ever. And yeah, they just stopped that like hours ago. Literally just stopped it. It's a threat every day. Do I think that it helps certain people's agenda, and maybe a few million chucked at that, and a few million chucked at that to give it a little helping hand? Do I think that goes on behind the scenes? 100%, 1,000,000%. I think that. Do I think that we're being played off against each other? But yeah, but the problem is, two things could be right at the same time. Yes, money can be thrown at a load of deranged third world countries that will come over here, and they know they will do nothing but cause chaos. So what do? Do I feel sorry for these people that are causing nothing but chaos because some people in the background have funded it? Oh, well, no, because these people are still hurting, maiming people. We are now the capital rate country in Europe. We're the highest acid attacks in the world. These things are still true. These people are still doing these things. These people have already got this ideology in their head, and they have come over here to implement their plan. And yes, I do think that a lot of millionaires, Muslims, Jewish, whatever you want to call them, they do give them a helping hand to get it. Most definitely. They couldn't not.
Well, also there's rumours that they are funding and creating some of these terror rings, different religions. I mean, the biggest thing with England, the biggest mistake we made was allowing the banks to be run by, the Rothschilds and people like that, because of the when they wage war, the government has to borrow money from them and pay it back with huge sums of interest, and this is how it benefits them to start these wars. And this
Yeah.
is, again, we weren't taught this in school for a reason, because they didn't want us to find this out.
Well, we
Um,
were broke after the Second World War, weren't we? And then the Rothschilds came in with their bankrolls, shall we say. This finance system with interest and all that, that is a Jewish system. That's how it was always run back in the day, unless you
That
weren't.
that's what I mean, though. That's why I think the books were slightly edited, because how come Christians were allowed to charge interest but Jewish were? So it's obviously set up from the beginning. I think definitely those Bibles have been edited. There's no way that they are in their original form,
Well,
because
we've
the
still got the
Sidhu
originals,
Bible
though.
is the original, isn't it?
We've got
Sinai.
the uh, we've got the Dead Sea Scrolls. That is the original. It's literally like, well, apart from it's been translated from Hebrew to English, and there's a few variations of wording. It's basically the same, apart from
Yeah, talking then about, what you just mentioned about all the threats to people in the UK. Tell me a bit about your story, because I know you've got a scar on your neck, a knife scar from a knife. Tell me what happened there and how you got that.
I was about 22 years old, like any other 22-year-old, really, back then. And I was out with my girlfriend and a friend and his girlfriend. And we was just having a few quiet drinks, nothing too special. And I was outside. It's just as the pub said no smoking outside. And I was having a cigarette outside. And a young girl that I know come running round the corner, quickly followed by four Romanians. And long story short, they tried grabbing her, grabbing her and dragging her down an alleyway. I ended up getting in a tussle with them. I got slashed in the neck. One of them spent longer in hospital than what I did, though. The other three ran off. It all went to court, and he did 8.5 years in prison for it. Uh, then, like I said, I systematically just watched my town get destroyed by migrants. And it wasn't till way, way further on that I realised that Dover was basically a testing run for the rest of the country. What was going to happen to the rest of the country? They will flood each town with migrants, first in hotels, then they will start buying out big properties in the area and filling them with them. Um, but yeah, so multiple things can be true at the same time. That's what I try and get through to people. Just because one thing is true, it doesn't mean that another thing isn't true, you know? And
So do you think so you obviously saved this girl from either getting raped or kidnapped, right? Do you think it was either or both?
well, yeah, it depends. If they were like a grooming gang, yeah, she could have been taken away into like many of these girls have been dragged for days on end and then thrown back out on the streets. I could go on loads of stories what have been happening, absolutely horrific stories that have been going on by these grooming gangs. And before anyone jumps on my back, yes, there are many more Jimmy Saviles out there than there are grooming gangs. But the problem is, we are a majority white country. So you are going to get the majority of white Muslims, white people being Jimmy Saviles. But when you're 6% of the country and you're performing 90% of these grooming gangs, which is a different crime, by the way, than what the Jimmy Saviles are doing, these people are really hurting these girls and destroying them mentally, physically, for the rest of their lives. I'm not saying that the Jimmys are not, but this is a whole different kettle of fish. They are torturing these girls at some points. It's all just because they're white British girls, and that's their only motivation for it. It's just this sick revenge that they've got going on in their head, which all comes from the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, so I spoke to somebody recently, and Harris Sultan, and he said that they tried that in Australia, And the Australians, the government just came down on them like a ton of bricks, and then it completely stopped them thinking that they could get away with that act. But in the UK, they've completely betrayed the girls.
And
They
still up.
haven't done anything about it, or not enough, because it's been going on decades. And Americans and people across the world just can't believe it. It's just so bad. It's so bad. I mean, really, this is all about everything that's happening is about children. It's about these elites, or non-elites, but it's all about the abuse of children, and whether they're sacrificing them, in some ritual, whether they're just, like you said, talking about gang rape. It's depressing because 8 million children a year go missing across the world. But when you look at Google, it says, no, 99% of them are refound. I'm like, yes, then definitely not. They're definitely not. And millions are going missing. And that's happening in Ukraine as well. I think, look, remember those children have all gone missing, 300,000. You've got refugees in Gaza gone missing. You've got refugee kids coming to this is kids I'm talking about, coming to England have gone missing.
Yeah, like 50 in Dover.
This is what's fueling the world, this heinous act against innocent children. And they're not only getting taken into these pedo rings, but it's actually sacrificing them as well, like down in these basements somewhere. And then they're taking the blood, aren't they? The adrenochrome, whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's the one.
Praise Lucifer.
That's the who was it? Oh, that boxer, Ryan Garcia, just before one of his fights, said that he'd when he was younger, basically been taken out to the woods and made to watch one of these things and all that just before everyone was going, oh, he's having a breakdown. But how many celebrities over the years have we heard say these little snippets here and there and, kind of laugh it off? Sandra Bullock was one years ago, and she was on that Ellie show or whatever in America, and she was like, oh yeah, they just take a bit of baby's adrenaline, or I'm not quite sure what it is, and then they just put it in and we just put it just makes us look younger. And everyone was like, well, you do what? You take what from who? It was, but once again,
I think it was foreskin, actually. I mean, America's very much taken in by Israel. There's a lot of commentary on that at the moment, that they're calling it the United States of Israel. And I don't know how many people in the country, but there's a lot of people against it now, because it's.
I heard in a podcast the other day that someone said that 30% of American Congress that are Christian nationalists actually support Israel because they believe that some of the stuff that is happening is actually the path to the coming back of Jesus.
Yeah.
So I don't know how.
When you talk to like more like certain Jews, they're like, no, we're definitely against it because this is all forced. This isn't like our Messiah coming back. This is more forced.
Yeah,
so they're against Israel for that reason. But yeah, you're right. Like, and also most of Congress are taking money from AIPAC.
What's the other as well? APAC. That's it. Yeah, APAC. They don't have to do what other companies do, or so. I can't remember what it is. There's certain regulations that every other company has to kind of stick to, but APAC don't. They kind of get free roll in and out of America, and a lot of people are not happy about that. And I know a lot of people on my Instagram automatically think I'm this Jew loving because I talk about the grooming gangs and that in England, but like I've said in many videos, the day that I find out that the Jews are doing this kind of thing in England, or they're out on the streets marching and saying that they want Jewish law in Britain and all this, I'll be all over them too. But they're just a bit more sneaky. I don't know if it's a lack of 1400 years of inbreeding like the Muslims have. I don't know, but it's just the Jewish are a bit smarter, they're a bit more clever, and it takes a longer platform to call them out, sort of thing, where I can show you quite easily a Muslim walking down the road screaming Allah Akbar, doing something crazy, because it's happening every day on our streets. But for the Jewish conversation, it's a bit more of a longer platform and a bit more of a debate and a bit more of, it's a bit harder to get that across.
I found out recently that the Talmud, which not all Jewish people follow, but some do, it says that Jesus is burning in excrement in hell,
Yeah, yeah,
and Mary's a whore, and you
yeah,
can lie to non-Jews, and if you can kill non-Jews, and it doesn't matter.
yeah.
There's actually a lot of things in there that are definitely not compatible with Christianity. But
No,
in America, they call it Judeo-Christianity, but we don't call it like that in England. We separate the two.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they're definitely not compatible in that regard. Yeah, for the reasons that I just gave you.
But we had that Jewish guy over in Israel. Tommy went over there and he interviewed him, and the Jew quite openly said, "Yeah, there's a special place in hell for British people because they betrayed us." Some of them are openly saying,
How did we betray them? We gave them Israel.
"Oh, yeah," and then they wanted a war kicked off, and they wanted our support or something. I can't quite remember the details. It was in '48, I do believe, and we kind of we said we would, and then we were like, "Nah, we're not going to. We've had enough of this nonsense between you and them and everyone else," and we didn't. We pulled out, or
Wow.
it was, or one of the agreements we pulled out of. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember the details, but yeah, apparently we betrayed Israel, and yeah, some of them would never forgive us. But
That
then I could turn around and say, well, you were. I'm in Argentina when we were fighting for the Falklands. So you betrayed us. It's history.
I mean, for me, if it wasn't for letting Rothschild in, they wouldn't have got the money, and then he wouldn't have had his influence in England, and then it was England that gave them this new state of Israel. So they should be eternally grateful to us. But what I've found is there's no loyalty in this war. But this guy, Harold Wallace Rosenthal, said most Jews don't like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer, and we are His chosen people. I mean, that's very arrogant to think the chosen people. Everyone's the chosen people, right? My research showed, but when the Jewish people were expelled from England in 1290, it's because for a few years prior, over quite a long time though, I think it was about 100 years, they were finding Christian boys were getting crucified on crosses. And there was quite a few incidences of that. So that is another reason why they got expelled for crucify, because they said that they need to crucify a Christian boy once a year because that's what their God wanted. So the Messiah came back. So I'm just quoting. Anyone going to get in the comments about that? You weren't alive then, so you don't know the truth. And I'm telling you what I've read. And it has to be some serious reason why they're expelled. And there is, there is a case of, there is a case of babies and children getting sacrificed. I don't know a lot about it, but you see these temples of babies, pictures of temples of babies, and the devil is holding his hands out, and the baby's put in his hands, and then they burn set the baby on fire. So there is something about this. So you protected this, this girl back in the day. I don't think people in America, but Americans, don't have a go at me. I might be wrong, but I think it's different in America because you've got guns, so you're a bit more cautious of getting involved. But in England, do you think people are likely to do what you did and get in there and save a female?
Yeah. I must admit, I didn't. That kind of question always rattled around my head. Do we have a lot of strong men? And then it was proven to me that we do. Just recently, we had another horrific attack on a train, and several men put themselves in mortal danger to save those around them. One bloke literally threw his head in front of the knife so a girl didn't get stabbed while she was trying to run away. So yeah, I do. I know for a fact that there are men itching to do something in Britain. They just, the thing is with England, we know if once we go, we go all the way. There is no, this has to go right to the top. It needs a complete and utter washout through our parliament, through our government, everything. It all needs a good clear out. The police, social workers, all of them need to be held accountable. But as much as it took them a long time to get to the stage they are, it won't take long to reverse things. It always takes less time to smash something up than what it does to build it. And once we can get organised enough and we get a leadership in that is willing to do what Donald Trump is doing and bring the army home, march from town to town and remove everyone and anyone that is not meant to be here. I don't care if you're child, woman, man. I don't care what your story is. I don't care. If you have entered this country illegally, I want you gone. And if you've come on to this country and you've been given citizenship and you've decided with that citizenship you're going to rape and pillage, your citizenship should be removed and you should be removed. And I don't care, like I keep saying, I don't care about your sob story. I don't care what will happen to you when you go back home. I do not care. What I care about are the girls and the women in this country. End of. And that's all I do care about.
And boys as well.
Yeah, boys as well. Yeah. Cases of boys. We had a 12-year-old boy. Yeah, raped the other day. It's just madness.
Well, I think, if you go to another country, you've got to respect the way they're doing things. And if you hate the country that you've gone to, just leave. Like I'm not going to stay in America if I absolutely hate it. I'll just leave. And that's, I think, the right thing to do. And that's what people should do. Because obviously people in Britain are saying death to the UK. In America, they're saying death to America. It's like, well, just go live somewhere else or try and make it work. But so there's another quote, which is, if the government wants to take away your weapons, you must fear that government. Now, that's what the British government have done. They've taken away people's weapons. People had weapons for centuries in England, thousands of years, and only recently they've taken them away. All part of this plan, what is coming in now. This is what I mean. It's been going on a long time, like you said, since World War II. So I think we've messed up, our generation, and everybody to have allowed those weapons to get taken away. But we've done it now. So now that all these men are coming in apparently in aeroplanes in the middle of the night, the Afghan soldiers, they've all got weapons. How are you going to have this revolution or change of power if you don't have weapons though? Or
Easy. We've got the numbers. We've got 2.5 million ex-veterans in England. Our army won't turn against the people. I know that for a fact. I've got many relatives in the army. One of them was a decorated soldier, got his medal from our king now. He was a prince at the time, but and yeah, every time I say to him, like, would the British soldiers put us under military law? And they laugh at me. It was like, no, we all sign up, and to protect the British people, not to come and fight for them. And none of us fight for our government. We fight for the king or the queen. And most of them were the queen, and they respected the queen. Not a lot of them respect our king, I'm afraid, but that's whose name they fight under. They don't fight under our government. So I don't believe they would turn on us. And if it comes down to us and the migrants, we outnumber them. Yeah, they may have a few weapons that we don't have, but they haven't got enough to stop us.
But what about these people that are coming in on the boats? What I'm thinking is, which I hope I'm wrong, but I'm just telling you what I'm thinking, and it's free speech, that they're going to be used as a foreign power because obviously the veterans are not going to go against their own people, right? So these other foreign people are coming in to be used by the government to go against us with weapons, maybe to bring in digital ID or just to bring in more, of a communist society. And they're going to be feel less guilty about hurting us because they don't have that allegiance.
Yeah.
What do you think to that? I mean, how are you going to overcome those if they're all carrying, assault rifles and
Have you
whatever
ever
the hell?
seen our football? Have you ever seen our football stadiums on a Saturday and Sunday afternoon in England? Like one stadium, 90,000 fans, and for how many? We have hundreds of stadiums across England. They would have to bring in at least 10 million people. They haven't got the numbers. They may at first think, until we got organised, but they haven't got the number. I know the British public. I know what will happen. If they want to go down that route, I know what will happen. And it won't end well for anyone. Innocent people will get hurt, like in any chaos. And it won't end well for anyone. And that's why the British people do not want it. They do not want to be smashing up our own country to prove a point. That's why we gather up in London in our hundreds of thousands. We show that we're frustrated. We show that we're angry. But we don't smash things up. We don't go around hammering. You can get a few thousand Palestinians and they're spraying all our statues, burning our flag, blah, 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 causing nothing but chaos. You can get hundreds of thousands of us together and there's 25 arrests. And that was because the football lot came over and got a bit drunk. It was just there's no comparison to our numbers to theirs. And if they want to go down that route, then good luck to them. Because I know hundreds of thousands of men that are ready. And they show it. You'll see on the 16th of May, 2026, you will see the force of England go into London. We shut it down last time. This time, I think it'll be even bigger and better. Every event I've ever gone to, it's just doubled, tripled in size, and the British people have had enough. And like I say, you only push us so far, and the cradle will break. And God help them, just God help them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and that peaceful way has worked as well because Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, has just done a U-turn, hasn't he, with the farmers, and he's changed the amount from 2.5 million to 1 million pounds. No, from 1 million to 2.5. And that was because you had all the farmers coming into London on tractors, en masse, huge protests, and that seems to have worked. So, okay,
Well, they told him it was the last time it'd be peaceful, didn't they? They said this will be the last time we come up here peacefully. Next time, you're going to get what the French are doing. Basically, every Parliament building will be covered in horse manure. Every road into London will be shut off with hay bales and dung. We will shut London down. And they basically looked him in the eyes and said, enough's enough. Yeah, and he started backtracking.
yeah, and that's really good because they are trying to poison us with the food as well. Like in America, I've got this cheese spread, this vegan cheese spread, right? Because I don't eat dairy. I bought it in February and it's still not got any mold on it. And I've opened it. The bread doesn't go moldy here. I saw a video the other day of some senators in the US talking about putting vaccines in lettuce and tomato.
Yeah.
It is horrific. So
Do
we
you know,
need those.
Brock?
We need those farmers to give us because the food's a lot healthier in England than here. It really, really is. I'm sorry, Americans, but you guys know it as well. It's scary. It's scary.
Do you know that broccoli is a man-made vegetable? It doesn't even exist in the wild. It's made from cauliflower.
Is it?
Yeah, I found that out the other day. Didn't even know I won't eat it now. It's got no
Yeah.
nutritional value as at all. Nothing. Nothing. It's just
I
yeah,
thought it
it's
had
nothing.
protein in it. I
Yeah.
thought it was
See,
full of protein.
I'm quite lucky because we make our own bread and that at home. Um, every week I'll bake a few loaves of bread and that. So our bread consists of 6 ingredients. That's it. And you go to a store and there's 26 ingredients in their store bread. But yeah, there's only 6 ingredients. You don't even really need six. You can have just water and flour and make bitter bread.
Yeah, I really yearn to live off grid and grow my own vegetables in the backyard, back
Yeah, we
garden.
grow a bit of veg. Not a lot, but we grow a bit.
Because the veg and fruit here, it takes forever to go off. and that's because it's so got so many
Yeah.
pesticides. Um, so why is this protest in May? I mean, that's a long time away. Why hasn't a protest been organised a lot sooner?
Well, because we just had one last Saturday. Well, not so much a protest, but we had a big Christian get together in London. Um, so he got about 10,000. He advertised it about 3 weeks, and within 3 weeks, 10,000 turned up. Plus, we had a digital ID thing going on as well with David Icke talking.
Does lead back to the state of Israel, right? Are you pro-Israel, the state of Israel, or not?
Do I believe Israel should exist? Yeah, I believe the Jewish people should have a home. Do I believe that they have the right to go around bombing anyone in the Middle East? No, I don't. Do I believe that they have any kind of say or influence in this country or America? No, I don't. I don't believe Israel has any influence or should, sorry, have any influence here at all. Why, like, I would question if I was in power, I'd question why they have their own ambulance services, why they have their own, why they are segregated from, communities, why they point the fingers at the Muslims. But why are you doing exactly the same thing then? This is Britain. This is for everyone, but you integrate, you live by British law, and you run by British culture. And if that doesn't suit you, 2025, you get yourself a passport and you go somewhere where it does. It's as simple as that. If you if
Yeah,
you want to be a good Jew and be here, fine. If you want to be a good Muslim and be here, no problem. You start your craziness, pack your bags, get out.
do you think that this is a likely thing that's ever going to happen, that people are going to get their wishes, these deportation wishes, given how badly British people have been treated?
If Nigel Farage is going to be our next Prime Minister, it's pretty much written in the wall unless something absolutely horrific happens. But Reform are going to sail it, I think. If they don't do it, if they don't do what's needed to be done, I don't reckon the British people will have any more patience. I don't reckon we've got another 4 years with another load of promises from another party. I don't believe people will wait for that. I think this is going to be the last crack of the whip. And if Nigel Farage fails to deliver and fails to do what the British people want him to do and ends up just being another branch of the same tree of corrupt, just pure corruptness, then I think all hell will break loose in Britain. I think there'll be civil war.
Do you think that Starmer might just try to stop a general election, though, by, like, let's say, sending people's children to Ukraine to fight Russia?
I'm just hoping we've got someone that our forces believe in and say no. We won't go to war with Russia. We won't go and do this. We won't go and do that. It's not in our best interests. You know, if Russia were at our shores, or they dropped a missile on us or something like that, fair enough. You strike first, we'll strike back. But until that day, none of us are interested in war. We don't want a war with anyone.
Yeah, so bringing that up, though, I'm worried that something is going to happen and then the government are going to blame Russia, and then that's going to be an excuse to send people off to war. Have you spoke to people about, like, can they get dragged to war if they're forced
Yeah, they're doing.
conscription wise?
Yeah, they can try. They're doing it in Ukraine, aren't they? Grabbing blokes off the streets that are meant to be signed up and bundling them into vans. But would you really want an army of people? This is the whole point of the propaganda: is to get people behind the war, to get your soldiers motivated to go to war. This is what's worked in the past. You tell them, oh, Hitler's a big bad man. Hitler's doing this, blah, blah, blah. But we've got a tool now that they never had back in the day, like social media. I can talk to you in America now. I can talk to an African on TikTok. I can, if I wanted to, I could reach out to the Russians and say, like, blah, blah, blah. We've got something now that we've had. before. You know, this tool of being able to reach out to different cultures and really find out what they are thinking, what the normal person is thinking over there. And what I find is most people just want to have an easy, comfortable, not even like a rich life, just a nice, comfortable, happy life. That's all they want. They don't need to be in a mansion. They don't need the latest Ferrari. They don't need these things. They just want to be happy. That's it. That's all they want. And 90% of the world, I would say, is that. But unfortunately, the ones with the bigger mouths are causing a lot of chaos in the world. And so we need to be bigger. We need to be louder than them, you know? Only took 25% of Germany to agree with Hitler, and off we went to war. So,
Can so what else would you recommend people do right now in preparing? I mean, are you doing anything like? I mean, people in the States, it's different here, but they're really stocking up on guns. They're, you know, some guys, especially ex-military, they've got enough food to feed the family for a year, like in tins and stuff, and they've got generators for heat and electricity. Are people doing anything like that in England?
um, yeah, there's communities that are getting away from, like, they're kind of getting self-sufficient. But like, I hate to be a nincompoop about this, but this, if we have World War Three, it's going to be a war we have never seen before. Number one, the China have just built the mothership. Now this is an undroned like aircraft carrier. Sorry, not aircraft carrier. Jumbo jet. Basically, it's unmanned and it can release thousands of drones at a time. Now we won't be fighting in the streets. We will be fighting drones and we will be fighting missiles, things like that. There isn't really much. You can kind of get ready, your house ready for looters, for idiots, than that. Yeah, I would suggest definitely doing something like that. All the big cities, if you've got a family, I'll get out of them cities because they are the first places to go. And if they don't go, they will be the first places to burn because too many people in the place all panicking at the same time never ends well. Like I say, I'd get out to a little community and make friends ASAP. I would get out of them cities because, yeah, they're going to be the first places to fall. It'd be the countryside you'd be safe in.
Do you think World War Three is coming then, not just a war, a civil war, or do you think civil war will come then World War Three?
Oh, either one, they will try and implement their 15-minute system. That's what they want. You know, they want a civil war. They want chaos on our streets. And then they come in and go, all right, guys, look, we'll put cameras here, 15-minute cities. Everything will be 15 minutes away. And, you know, you'll have your ID card. And if you go into this zone, you'll scan in here. And, oh, you might not be able to buy produce over here because you're not from this zone. And if your nan's in that zone, you might have to pay a bit to go from this zone to that zone to that zone to go see your nan. But at least we know where everyone is. At least we have everyone under control. We know who everyone is, you know. And before you know it, we'll be beeping in and out of zones and scanning things everywhere, you know. Just, and then it'll come up, oh, you bought too much meat this month. Your family doesn't, you know, you haven't got enough social credit score for a meat this month. And you're like, what? It's just, yeah, it's just about control. But it's about societies becoming strong enough to push back and just say no, we're not doing this, you know, and taking a step back. Why are we so eager to run into the future for? I don't understand it. Everyone's
Well, I
so
think.
eager to.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I just don't understand why everyone's so eager to, you know, just keep running forward and not taking the time to appreciate what the moment that you're in. Everyone's just looking ahead all the time and just not appreciating what's actually around them at that precise moment.
Yeah, well, I think the government are eager because they want to put chips in us and make us docile servants. so that we
Yeah.
can't do things like you're suggesting. I wouldn't be surprised if they'll ban the internet as well. That's why it's really important, guys. If you see something that you think I wasn't taught that in school and I need to pass that on to my kids or to other people, make sure you record it and save it. So you've got a copy so we can make sure history is passed on through the generations, because it's definitely not been passed on via schools and via the media. So yeah, no, I like what you got to say. It is all going in a terrible direction. Yeah, because that's what they want to do. They want to put chips in us.
But my best bit of advice for people would be is just stay in your lane. Don't worry about things that are out of your control, like what governments and all that are doing, because you can scream to the top of your lungs. They're not going to listen to you. But if you can take control of your household and then find other people like you in your community and start working together to make your community a safe, decent place to bring children up, and then just spread that on to the next community and the next community. And before you know it, this country will start turning itself around as long as we all stick together. And yes, we're going to have a lot of lefties and a lot of other people shout and scream, point your finger at you. Just don't worry about it. Don't get worked up about it. Don't let them put your head down. Just stick to the facts. As long as you stick to the facts and not opinions, you'll be all right.
Is that still going on in England then with the lefties, or have they not clocked on yet?
No, they haven't clocked on. No, no, they're absolute shameful people. Absolute, like it's the same thing in America.
You're just keeping on going, keeping on going. So, what is your ancestry and your DNA that's making you, maybe there's something in this. Maybe you're an ex-Viking too.
I don't know. I've got the blonde hair, blue eyes, so I reckon I've definitely got some Scandinavian in me somewhere. I've never actually done it. For me, I know that my dad was born here, my granddad was born here, the granddad before, his dad was born here. So, yeah, as far as I know, or I cared, it doesn't really bother me to tell the truth. I know I'm English. I absolutely love my country. Um, I'm proud of what we have achieved and ashamed of some of the stuff that we've done in the past as an empire. But over and all, I think we did a lot more good than we did bad. We were the first empire ever to even think about ending slavery. No one else did, no one even gave it a second thought. We thought about it and actually did something about it. So yeah, I am proud of my country, its history, its culture, and I love it. And without the love for my country, then yeah, I can't really see how you cannot move on in the country. I can't see how you can exist living in a place you don't love and care about. It just baffles me, especially with the lefties.
Well, of course, but whites have already been slaves as well. 1.5 million of us in the Barbary slave trade.
Yeah.
But I think you make a good point at the end of the day. With all this bad stuff that does happen, it's not people like you and me that's making these decisions. It's people, we can vote people in power to make good decisions for the people, as can other nations, but they just do what they want in the end, don't they? Because they're powered by
Yeah.
these other forces. So what's your last bit of advice for people today? If you were to go, just to give people some hope and a good positive message, what do you want to say?
Oh, there's definitely 100% more good out there than evil, but the problem is people seem to thrive off silly evil video or bad videos more than what they do good videos for some reason. It seems to people like the drama. But I know from life experiences and doing a bit of traveling and that, most people, just like I said before, just want to be happy, just want a normal life. They don't want the chaos that is going around, from Africa to England to Australia. Most people just want to have a loving family around them and exist in a nice world. And if you want that, guys, then sometimes you just have to stand up and fight for that. You know, you just have to stand up and go, hang on a minute, this madness over here is not needed. And I'm not saying we all have to get on and be best friends, but when we see evil, as we must band together as good people and go, no, this isn't part of our society. This needs to be removed. It's doing more harm than good. And just be brave enough to speak out and do it. That's
Yeah.
it, really.
And take our roles in protecting children.
Yeah, 100%.
You
Yeah,
know,
100.
they're the ones looking to us, aren't they, for help? Well, they're
Yeah,
not.
definitely.
Well, they might not know that they are, but that's really our responsibility, isn't it? Um, where can people find you, Andy, on social media? And I'll drop your links below this video.
Well, my biggest platform is on Instagram. I do TikTok, but it's I've had 8 accounts taken. I'm on my ninth account, so every time I get up to 50,000, 100,000, they take it. So yeah, I am on TikTok. It's always Real Brit, Real Talk. I'm on YouTube. After the new year, we start a new YouTube show, live debates and that. So yeah, it should be interesting. The hate will come, I'm sure. My best bit of advice for people is stop feeling for sorry for yourself. Stop, um, kind of sitting there worried about, oh, life hasn't turned out the way you wanted it to, because no one's life ever turns out the way they think it's going to. Make the best of the situation you've got and work hard to improve yourself day by day. And that's all as a human you really can do. And if you see evil, don't be shy, stand against it. Just stand. That's all you got to do.
Nice.
Mhm.
Here's another video for you coming up here where it's showing you exactly what is going on in the UK that you should watch now.